He's a very good friend of mine. He takes care of some of my business for me that I need done.
Thank you, Ms. D.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. I'm here today to share some information with you concerning my son and heroin. How many ninth graders do we have? 9th and 10? 11? 12? No 12s? Anyway, are you familiar with heroin and withdrawal from heroin? Anybody? You know what happens? Nobody?
Get withdrawal.
When someone withdraws from heroin,
I get sick.
very sick. They get very sick, and it's not really a very pleasant sight to watch and to see. I've seen it in movies a long time ago, before my son became addicted to heroin. He was born on May 4th, 1986. Am I doing this, or are you doing it, Mrs. D?
I'm gonna get it up in a minute.
Okay.
That's what I'm working on.
So he came to us and said he had a problem. He was using painkillers probably when he was 15, 16 years old. And his mom and I had gotten divorced when he was about 12 years old, 11 or 12 years old. However, we had a very amicable divorce. We're still very good friends. We were friends during the whole separation. Our kids never had to suffer like most kids do from their parents divorcing. We were very lucky that we were able to be that way, and we still are today. He got involved with the wrong people, which is very easy to do when you have peer pressure. I have 2 children. My daughter is 35 years old. My son would have been 30 this coming May. I always taught my kids to be leaders and not followers. My daughter took that and she ran. She was a leader her whole life, and she still is. She has her own business. Academically, my son did way better in school as far as grades. He had straight A's all the time, a couple B's. Nicole, my daughter, she was more involved in sports and basketball and cheerleading, and had a lot of friends, and did very well that way, and she still is doing really well. So this is Patrick's picture when he was a baby. And the picture on the right over there is real close to the time that he passed. He was 25 years old, about 10 days away from his 26th birthday when he passed. You know, a lot of times this doesn't work. When you're in school, a lot of people try different things: marijuana, cocaine, pain pills, whatever it is. But heroin is not something that anybody should try, because you don't try heroin. Heroin takes over your whole body when you try it, because you get such a feeling of euphoria. And from that day on, you keep trying to get it back, and you never get it back. It just ruins your life. It doesn't only ruin your life, it ruins your whole family's life, and anybody that loves you. Does anybody here know anybody that is on heroin or did heroin? Nobody? How about anybody that does drugs? Yeah, okay. Not a good idea to even try any drugs. Nothing that masks whatever issues you're having or any problems that you're having. Drugs is not the way to go. So this is when he was probably not even a year old. That's my mom and dad, his grandparents. To add to the equation of these issues that he had with heroin, he also had open heart surgery when he was an infant. He was born with a hole in his heart. It's very common with a lot of babies, and usually it closes by the time they're a year or 2 years old, if they have that kind of heart. His, however, did not close, and he had to have open heart surgery when he was about 16 months old. And if you don't think that's hard, handing your kid over, this little baby over to this surgeon that's going to cut open his chest, it's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do. But because of the fact that he was so little, and these kids are little, they bounce back. He was running around 3 days after the surgery. Whereas if you're an adult and you have open heart surgery, you're pretty much laid up for a good week. but it was perfectly corrected. They had to put a Teflon, they used Teflon to cover the hole, and he was very normal, could play any sports he wanted. And they found that probably when these kids turned into their 20s, that a few of them had issues with pulmonary hypertension. Pulmonary hypertension is when your heart has to work so hard to pump the blood from one side to the other side. So with that problem, and then deciding to experiment with heroin was not a good combination.
Oh, you know what, I don't have that hooked up.
Oh,
My mistake.
okay. So when his mom told me that he was having trouble, or she thought that he was using, didn't say what he was using, I thought, smoking a few joints or whatever. She tried to keep it from me because I get pretty hysterical when I hear serious things like that. Anyway, he came to her and said that he had a problem. And there's a place downtown on the west bank of the Flats, it's called Stella Maris. I don't know if anybody has ever heard of that, but you go there and you detox, and then they have a program that you could go into rehab for 30 days. So we went there, we took him there, and come to find out that he was doing heroin. I found out he was doing heroin. So what they do is they take you into a room and they show you a movie, getting back to the withdrawal part. So in the movie they show a gentleman detoxing from heroin, shaking like a leaf, sweating profusely, and being really sick. So my son's watching that, and I says, this could be you. If you don't stop what you're doing immediately, you could be that man. And he said, well, that can't be me. That guy's doing it all wrong. He did too much. That's why this is happening to him. I said, that doesn't really have anything to do with it. So I let him think what he was going to think, and probably a few years later, we brought him back there. They showed us the movie again, only this time he was the one shaking and throwing up in withdrawal. From that, you experience that whole thing. It'll take 3 to 5 days, depending on how much heroin you have in your system. And then you go into a rehab facility. My son probably did this about 10 or 12 times. He went into the detox, then he went into the program, did very well in the program, and he just couldn't deal with real life. However, he helped a lot of people. He helped a lot of kids his age. He had a lot of friends. He was a funny kid. He was, always joking around and had good grades. But it doesn't matter. Heroin doesn't have any discriminations. You could be black, white, Chinese, live in a really affluent neighborhood. You could live in a bad neighborhood. It doesn't matter. Movie stars, sports stars. So many people that you would really be surprised that are on heroin.
It'll work now.
The ones that I encountered, older people that are on heroin seem to do, the ones that have been doing it for a very long time, they seem to be doing the best with it because they stay in the program, they become sponsors and they help people. Patrick had a gift to do that. And I always said to him, whether you blow this, whether you're able to get rid of this addiction or not, you have a gift. You have a gift to help people. And I had no idea that he helped anybody until his funeral. And a lot of kids came through the line and said, your son saved my life. So that made us feel good. He couldn't save his own life, but he helped a lot of people. That's him with his cousins and his sister. He's the little one that the older boy's holding. I'm going to read some material here for you guys about heroin and addiction. And Patrick also wrote something before he died, about a week before he died, that was pretty apparent to me and very, very powerful. He wrote it to his girlfriend, and while he was in the hospital, I read it, and after he died, I had it printed and put on this plaque. We'll show you. We'll show this later, but this is him when he graduated high school. Was at his party. That's his sister. He was goofing around with that flower in his hair. He didn't typically wear a flower in his hair. That's his mom on the other side. Patrick loved family. We had a very close family. And he was very, very upset with himself that he could not kick this habit. He tried and tried and tried. We had him in a lot of different facilities. He even went to the mountains, in the Allegheny Mountains in Montreal, Canada for 3 months to the tune of about $20,000 and came out and used. It just takes your soul. He told us that one day. He says, this drug just took my soul. So guys, it's not ever anything to fool around with. You know, take it serious. If you know anybody that you think is using or selling it, either help them or stay away from them. When he was in the Cleveland Clinic, he had to do an essay. These are his friends. Jail, still doing heroin. This guy never did anything, and he's very successful right now today. These are with cousins. This was at his sister's wedding. That's him on the right. And this is him when he was about 20 years old. So I'm going to read this because when he was in the Cleveland Clinic, he had to write something. He had to write an essay. And they were very, very impressed with his essay, and he got an A+ on it. So this is what he was thinking as far as attitude and emotions and behavior. The ability to control my thoughts is a rather tough quarrel, especially when using drugs and drinking alcohol is added to the equation. These actions cause my thinking process to race and revolve only around that day or drink. The situation or scenario I'm in, meaningless to me unless, of course, it involves getting high. The center of my universe becomes completely engulfed in using and way and means to use and to continue. The only way for me to put an end to my polluted thoughts is to change my focus and put value on something more conducive to life or living healthy. That is of course, if I would not prefer misery, suffering, and death over happiness. Prospering life today, I choose sobriety over addiction, and in order to maintain a sober lifestyle, it is crucial for me to share when I am having negative thoughts of using. If I fail to do so, I will soon develop a plan to relapse and end up right where I started. This leads me to the next subject of the essay, attitude. It is safe to say for myself, my attitude feeds my actions and outlook on the things. If I harbor a pessimistic attitude towards everything, reality will be just that. It is obvious that part of it's cut out, so bear with me. I'm not seeing words that are there. It is obvious that my abusing drugs or alcohol, my attitude is poor. My attitude is selfish, manipulative, toward, and self-seeking. Basically, it boils down to what I can get over on someone or something to benefit myself, which is totally unappealing to myself and others. So sooner my objective becomes to reverse my attitude to be more positive and hopeful. If I put forth the same amount of effort that I do when I get high towards being sober, my life will improve drastically. And all aspects of life will be the complete opposite of the way that they were when I was using. I can make this statement and back it up wholeheartedly only because I have experienced it firsthand. Staying grateful for what God has blessed me with is the type of attitude I prefer to have. No matter how bad I think I have it, there's always someone worse off than I am. That is a very profound statement. When you go on in life and you have different issues and different problems, you always got to think, someone always has it worse than you do, and you work it out. My attitude always affects my behaviors. For me, behavior is an action. I can very easily act out in thinking, attitude, or emotions. Also, it is common for me to act impulsively, which proves to be very unhealthy for my recovery. It almost has become second nature for me to act before I think or examine what the outcome of the action will be. This has caused me a great deal of painful consequences. Also, each time I have relapsed, it was a result of impulsive and inappropriate behavior. Today, my goal is to strive toward fulfilling it, to believe in a positive way, and to be aware of what can become of my actions. I would feel a strong sense of happiness and accomplishment if my ability to behave and stay positive were to set an example for someone else in the same situation as myself. I pray and I hope that my behavior improves, so that it is possible for me to help others in this situation. Emotionless. This is the way I feel when I am consumed by drugs. I have no real feeling. My brain becomes numb to any type of pain, sadness, anger, or joy. All I care about is that next fix or the next objective I must complete in order to obtain money for that fix. How disgusting is this disease of addiction? How much longer will I let it play God? These questions I so often ask myself. Never am I able to answer them with a clear head. I realize the answer is as long as I let it, and as sick as I allow it to be. The most difficult struggle I have with this disease is flooding my emotions that pour into my brain when I choose to abstain from the drug. The fear, the guilt, the shame, and overall self-hatred and disgusting overwhelm me so much it becomes almost impossible for me to make that conscious decision to continue abstinence. Only for sake of experience do I grasp onto this whirlwind of terrible emotion. But because I know it will not last forever and this too shall pass, I only trust God at this point of terror. He will relieve me of his pain and distress. Only he can work through people, and only he can guide toward a healthy mental state in which my past will no longer be a hindrance. Happy, joyous, and free, full of emotion, natural emotion. No more mask. I possess the ability to cope with the uncontrollable and channel it in a healthy way. The minute I lose this ability is the minute I head backwards listening to myself again. That is what I call deadly. I must comprehend I will always have the disease of addiction, but it remains my choice to let it rule my thinking, attitude, behavior, or emotion. So he got an A on this. And as you can tell by the way he writes, he was very eloquent in writing and speaking. When he came out of treatment, every time he was very positive. And then there certain things triggered it off, and he got right back to where he was before. He wrote this, what I was saying before, to his girlfriend, and when he was in the hospital, she showed me this, and I asked her to give it to me, and I had it put on this plaque. This one goes, he writes, did you know one time I had potential, a gifted writer, an exquisite personality, irresistible charm, attractive and handsome, talents in a variety of work trades, ethic that is extremely difficult to obtain, a leader, a pinnacle that peers looked up to, able to overcome and tackle any challenging task at hand, highly respected and idolized, set and accomplished goals, a true intellectual. Until one day I crossed the imaginary line, so often mentioned, unknowingly. Since then I have suffered a large mass of virtues and qualities in a failed attempt to backstep onto the side of that line I came from. Once again, doing this in a fashion that until this day proves I was unaware of the scenario. I was so hardened to conquer that line, the disease of addiction, that soft, subtle voice in between my ears that so confidently whispers, there is a way to reverse this mistake. Every time I fall prey to succumbing, all morals and values placed in the fire during, any self-respect, dignity, honor, pride, heroism, trust, decency, emotion, humanity was stripped immediately, replaced with a lifestyle so rotten and demonic, even purgatory can't compare. An abstract that'll snatch flesh from human's home sweet home, better known as the ruins. Now I ponder to myself, how can I be so helpless enough to adopt this misery into my life with all my so-called intelligence I've come to conceive and the wisdom I've endured? True powerlessness is announced, but for someone so wrapped up in their head, whose thoughts are so polluted and trained to process on a single track, there is but one answer. he is incapable of being honest with himself, so crushed by the fact that he has been presented with a depakote he can't cure. That maybe, just maybe, it's appropriate to say his time here is up, and he did everything he thought possible to defuse the madness. Another failed attempt. Now what seems so wrong could be the ultimate prescription, throw in the hand and meet the maker. So I didn't see this until after he passed away, and I thought it was just very surreal. When he got in the accident, he had just gotten out of jail. He was in jail for 3 days because of, he missed a court date. He missed a court date from a time where he was using, and he was in a store, and he got caught with paraphernalia. So the policeman took him to the hospital because he saw what state he was in. Getting back to his pulmonary hypertension, when you're doing the heroin, it made his heart go into congestive heart failure, and he would swell up with fluid, so his face would be gigantic, his hands, his feet. So the policeman took him to the hospital and said, look for something in the mail because you'll have to go to court because of the possession of paraphernalia. Well, he got out of the hospital, told his roommate that he's probably going to get something in the mail. When it came, he didn't give it to him, and he apparently forgot about it. And he was at a meeting one day, and he was in that state again where he was high and he was very filled up with fluid. And in the meantime, he got picked up by the police because they had a warrant out for his arrest. Put him in jail. That was on a Friday, and he was calling all of us to get him out, but we wouldn't accept the phone calls from jail because we figured he's in a better place, other than being home and using again. So he ended up getting out of jail after that weekend, whether he posted his own bond or got someone that got him out. But he had called me and said, can you pick me up in Little Italy, which I did. And he was not swollen anymore. It was just very weird, and his whole demeanor was changed. He wasn't high, and he wasn't swollen, and he wanted to go to the jail to pick up his belongings. And got his belongings from when they arrested him. In the meantime, his sister called me and says, Mom doesn't want to see him, so when you come here, I'll just run out with the keys to his car, and he could be on his way. So my son didn't want to hear that. We got there, he said he wanted to see his mother, and she didn't want to see him, but she did end up coming upstairs and giving him the keys and telling him that there was money in his car, and just to go on his way. And then that night I talked to his sister, and I asked her what happened, what was the final result, and she said he was very angry, and she was very mad at him because of what he did, and she didn't realize that when this kind of thing happens to people and they're on heroin, they're not them anymore. That's not her brother. He was not like that by nature. But you are so desperate when you are on this drug, you'll do anything, you'll beg, borrow, and steal. And so she said, and I said, that's your brother, you have to realize that he's ill. And we ended the texting, and then as soon as I hung up, she called and said he was in a terrible car accident. And the police showed up at his mom's door and said he was in a terrible car accident for us to go to the hospital. We went to the hospital, and he was on life support for 5 days. And at the end of the 5th day, we had an appointment with the doctor. The doctor said that he would be a vegetable if we let him live. And he wouldn't be able to eat or feed himself or go to the bathroom, or he would just sit there in a wheelchair in a facility. So we decided not to go that route, and we pulled the plug, and 12 hours later he passed away. But this is a quilt that a woman made about all of his t-shirts and jeans. And that picture on the right is his program that we had in the church for his funeral.
You want the last picture?
Yeah, this is what happened when we went to the hospital. That's heroin for you. The end of a perfectly good life of someone that could have been very successful. because of his intelligence. And this is what it did to him. The reason I took that is because the doctor said at that point they didn't know whether his brain was functioning or not. So his mom says, well, I want a picture and actually a video to show him if he comes out of it. But he never came out of it. To be honest with you, when he came to live with me, he already tried living with his uncle and his mother, and he stole and he got high and everything. But when he lived with me, I told him, if you use one time and I find out, you're on the streets. So he was living with me, was fine for a while, and then he said he was gonna take a shower one day. I was watching TV, it was at night. He went to take a shower, I went to bed, and I was listening for the water in the bathroom. I didn't hear any shower or anything going on, so I got up, the door was locked, he wasn't answering me, and I got in like with a knife, and he was on the ground, passed out, doing too much. Well, he did wake up though, and I told him to get out, and he walked the streets the whole night, and saw him the next day, and he was still staggering. I said, you're gonna get fired. I didn't tell him to get in my car, and he got fired from his job that day. And that day was the day his mother and I told him, you're on your own. You gotta do everything for yourself. Because as a parent, you don't think you're enabling them when he was in treatment, but we were enabling them. We would pick him up, we would take him back, we would do his laundry. So after that incident, we washed our hands down. He got himself into rehab on his own resources, went into a program on his own for 30 days, came out, got a job, got a place to live, and he got a car. So that's what he knew he had to do, otherwise he was going to be living under a bridge somewhere. And that was for 9 or 10 months. He was like that, and we thought finally that was it. He got it, and he was able to get on with his life. Maybe 2 months after that, he regressed and got high, and that was the last time. But I used to pray to God, if my son can't live and be healthy, then just please take him home. I don't know of any of you who are spiritual or not, but God is the only one that has your back, And that's what he did. He took him home, and the way I get through each day is I look at this tattoo that I have on my arm, and it's his name, the year he was born, the year he died, until we meet again. And I know he's in a good place, and I'm going to see him again. I know that for sure. And one other thing I wanted to share with you, when he was in the hospital on life support, I went in there about 9:30 on the day that we were supposed to meet with the doctor. And there was a girl there that was a friend of my wife's at the time, that she was very spiritual, and she could see and feel, not see, but feel when there was spirits around. So when I saw her, I hadn't seen her in probably 30 years. And she said, she was crying. She goes, I hope you don't think I'm some kind of weirdo. I said, absolutely not. God gives us all gifts. And that was a gift that she had. She was able to feel when there were spirits around. But she said, but this time I have a visual. She says, did Patrick like angels? I says, yeah, he had angels tattooed all over his arms. And she says, well, he's going to be an angel today. He's halfway out of his body. There's 2 big angels standing behind his bed right now. And this is what I see. And I also see a bridge with a lot of people around the bridge ready to welcome him. So when you're about to say goodbye to your kid and you hear something like this, it just gives you a feeling of, wow, my heart's a lot lighter now. And it changed our lives forever, but we're happy that he helped other people, and we're happy that he's in a better place. Does anybody have any questions for me? No? All right, well, then I want to read this one thing for you that's on heroin. This is heroin speaking. This is pretty profound. I destroy homes and tear families apart. I'll take your children, and that's the start. More costly than diamonds, more costly than gold, the sorrow I'll bring is the sight to behold. If you need me, remember I'm easily found. I live around in your schools, in your town. I live with the rich, I live with the poor, I live down the street, and maybe next door. My power is awesome. Try me, you'll see. But he warned, if you do, you'll never break free. Try me once and I might let you go. Try me twice and I'll own your soul. When I possess you, you'll steal and lie and do what you must just to get high. Crimes you'll commit for the narcotic charms. You'll lie to your mother and steal from your dad. You'll see their tears but won't feel sad. You'll forget your morals and how you were raised. I'll be your conscience. I'll teach you my ways. I'll take kids from their parents and parents from their kids. Turn people from God, heaven forbid. I'll take everything from you, your looks and your pride. I'll be with you always, right by your side. You'll give up everything, your family, your home, your friends. Your money, you'll be all alone. I'll take what I'll take, so you have nothing more. When I'm finished, you'll be lucky to be alive. If you try me, be warned, this isn't a game. Given a chance, I'll drive you insane. I'll ravish your body and I'll control your mind. I'll own you completely, your soul will be mine. Nightmares I'll give you as you lay in your bed. Voices you'll hear from inside your head. Sweats and shakes, bad visions you'll see. I want you to know these are all gifts from me. And when it's too late, you'll know that you're mine. You'll regret that you tried me the very first time. You came to me and not I to you. You knew this would happen, surely not to you. You challenged my power, you chose to be brave. You could have said no and just walked away. If you could live that day over and would to be brave, you could have said no and just walked away. If you could live that day over, would you say, can I be your master, will you be my slave? I promise I'll stay with you on your way to the grave. So know that you've met me. What will you do? Will you try me or not? It's all up to you. I'll bring you more misery than words can ever tell. Come take my hand, I'll lead you to hell. You have no idea how true this is. No idea. From what I've seen of people that do heroin, whether they're in treatment or out of treatment, I could detect it a mile away. When he was living with me, he would come in and his eyes would be half masked. He'd say, I'm so tired. I go, you're tired? He goes, yeah. He just lie right through the teeth. Like, you're not tired, you're high. You're so high you can't even see straight. But at the same time, he told us when he was sober. He did say that again. He goes, I'm so tired. He was tired of living that way. He was tired of waking up and not knowing if he was going to get a fix. Because at that point, he wasn't doing it to get high. He was doing it to just feel normal. Because that's what heroin does to you. When you first do it, you get such a great feeling of euphoria that you have to have it back. You have to have it back. And then after it takes everything from you, it takes your soul. It takes all your self-pride and everything, all your morals. You only need it to feel normal, just so he could sit and talk with us. It's just a horrible, horrible drug. So,
Did you tell them the percentage?
the percentage of heroin, the mortality of heroin use, of living after doing heroin, is 5%. 5% of people that do heroin die. I mean, yeah, 95% of people die from doing heroin. And in Cleveland, in Ohio, we're the number 3 in the whole country of heroin use. One time he did, from a needle, he went into the hospital because he had an irritation on his forearm where he shot up. And he got such a bad infection that they had to scoop out like maybe 2 inches into his arm to get this all up. And they couldn't stitch it. And they couldn't give him pain pills because of his addiction. It was so gruesome you couldn't even look at it. My wife back here is the one who cleansed it out for him when he came home. I couldn't even look at it. But she was an angel, and she used to clean it out for him until it healed up totally. But the thing is, you would think by going through all of this, that you wouldn't want to do anything ever again. He couldn't wait to do heroin after it healed up. Found someplace else on his body to shoot it. So, I hope I made an impact on any of you guys, and that you don't have any desire to do heroin. Or if you do know people that do heroin, either try to help them or stay away from them, because they'll draw you in. I know my wife's nephew, he was a pallbearer for my son when he passed away, also a heroin addict. So they bury each other, they see each other in pain, they see each other die, and they still do heroin. It's just a sick, sick drug. It's the devil.
What leads them up to heroin? How did Patrick start with?
They
what
usually
type of-
start with pain pills like Oxycontin or, Vicodin, Percocet, anything that's a downer. But those pills are very expensive on the street. They all ultimately end up doing heroin because it's cheap, and you can get it on the street for like $10. But bad thing about that, like it's bad enough if it's heroin, if it's true heroin. But when it's cut with other drugs, that's when it could kill you. And once you do heroin, you overdose, they bring you to the hospital, then they shoot you with a shot of Narcan, and Narcan reverses it. And obviously that did not work for my son. He was too far gone. But yeah, it's a terrible drug.
Any questions, guys? Anything at all? Over here, Nick.
How many times do you have to go to the hospital?
The hospital? Well, he probably went to the hospital because of his heroin addiction. Maybe. Well, one time he had an appendicitis, and he was in treatment.